Chair recognizes Honourable Member for Fox Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was, on Friday, spent half my day cussing the phone company because you couldn't get one call through, the data dropped, all kinds of crap going on all day, and I just wonder why the other side, the side opposite, doesn't just admit that that was a bad decision to sell this company to this company, man. They don't know what they're doing. Sheepish, man. Yeah, oh, man. It's just unbelievable. And I think certainly the way we've structured this policy, which is to provide equities for Bahamians, is a sound thing to do. But I don't think the Bahamian public really cares what we do. They just want a phone company where they could make a phone call and people could hear them on the other side of the phone. It's just gotten to that now. Sheepish, man. I want to join you, though, in your expressions of support to Dr. Franklin Joaquin on the death of his mother, Edith. And I was glad that you did a reprise of her contribution to the general strike in 1958 and helping her husband and quietly doing her bit to help us be where we are today. And so I want to mark her passing. She's to the funeral service is to be, I'm told, on Sunday at Zion Baptist Church. And yes, Sunday. I think it's Sunday at Zion Baptist Church. So on behalf of the constituents of Fox Hill, and Dr. Joaquin, since he's left, well, before leaving this place, and even now, we've been friends for a long time, and he's helped so many people. And I'm sure he got that from his mom, who really, after the passing of her husband, carried him and his sister and carried their family. So I'm sure it's a real loss. She lived to be 92 years of age, a good innings by any standard, and my condolences to him and the members of his family. I wish, on behalf of the people of Fox Hill, Mr. Speaker, to welcome the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance's statement to the House today on the country's finances at mid-year. And I want to congratulate him and the people of the Ministry of Finance who superintend this difficult process. The people of Fox Hill have been the beneficiary of this careful superintendence, a balance between prudent spending and reasonable savings. As we speak, $90,000 have been committed by the government to the construction of a monument in Freedom Park to the 4 young people killed in Fox Hill on the 27th of December, 2013. Last year, we commissioned a $50,000 gazebo on the park at Eastwood, again, as a contribution to the development and upkeep of that neighborhood. And also last year, contributions from the public coffers were allocated for infrastructural developments in neighborhoods across the constituency, including East Park Estates and Freddie Munnings Manor. During the past year, scores of people from Fox Hill were able to join the public service, and scores more joined the new Bahamar project. My key focus has been on relieving unemployment, which is hitting young people particularly hard, but also hitting those people, men and women in their middle age, who have been up to now the main breadwinner. During the past year, the government also made significant contributions to the cultural life of Fox Hill through the Fox Hill Festival, its Christmas and summer programs, Fox Hill Day, and the social outreach programs of the churches in Fox Hill. Right now, out to tender is a Ministry of Education effort to put a safer exit and entrance to the Sandlands Primary School, and over $100,000 or more was spent on the removal of overgrown lots, and we need to start again. I just spoken to the Deputy Prime Minister, because what needs to be put in place is a permanent program of maintenance. And what I found very interesting in the last couple of weeks, Mr. Speaker, is that recently a number of private citizens in Fox Hill have decided to establish bed and breakfast businesses in Fox Hill. And so this spurs us doubly on to want to make sure the environment is clean, and ensure that the neighborhood is safe. The Fox Hill Clinic is now undergoing substantial improvements and repairs, which, when done, will better serve the Fox Hill community. And scores of homes have been repaired under the Urban Renewal Small Homes Repair Scheme. Many more are scheduled to be done. All of this was done despite a difficult financial environment. The fact is, there is no bottomless pit from which to get money. Still, the government was able to provide for the country's needs. Our citizens in Fox Hill are still adversely affected by crime, but their heads are held high in the face of all that has happened in these provocations over the last couple of years. The police are under new leadership in the constituency and are working with various sub-communities in the constituency to ensure a safer community. The main aim of all of these policies announced by the government, as far as the people of Fox Hill are concerned, is that they are being people-focused. It is to be sure that those 90 students who made the honor roll at the L.W. Young Junior High School get a fair chance to make it in our country. And I want, therefore, to congratulate those students of L.W. Young on their scholastic accomplishments. I also want, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate young Stefan DeVoe, who is in the 6th grade at Sandlands Primary School, and he recently won a speech competition, the prize for which is a 6-year scholarship at Westminster College. So my congratulations go out to him, to his teachers, and especially to the principal, Esther Cartwright, for their hard work in making sure that he was able to do it. And I got to tell you that it was really disarming for me this morning. So I was walking around the schoolyard, and I asked to meet him. And he came running forward. I guess he's just about 11 years old, or maybe slightly younger. And I was looking at him. He's looking at me. And he's saying, "Yes, sir," to every question I asked him. And I thought to myself, geez, you mean I used to look like that when I was a kid? I mean, you could just see the hope, the brightness, the future. Yes. And you say, it dedicates yourself, or rededicate yourself to making sure that that hope, that brightness, and that future never dies in his eyes. So congratulations. When that clinic is done in Fox Hill, its services will ensure that there's another young man who was shot, who is now paraplegic, can receive proper care for his conditions. Just speaking to him, he needs a wheelchair and proper attention. But what it shows you is the work is never done, and that work for me is always jobs, jobs, and jobs. There are those who wish to portray people who govern this country as living in a bubble, and I assure you not, because each day, each of us here, in this place, on this side, work assiduously to figure out what we can do to put people to work. Each day, as the MP for Fox Hill, I try to commit myself to finding at least one job each day. These are tough times. Every one of us, and each of us, have to recognize that these are tough times. But when the times get tough, the tough get going. And I believe that we in Fox Hill can meet the challenge. So, on behalf of the people of Fox Hill, I urge the government to continue to be people-focused. It is my honor to thank the government on behalf of the people of Fox Hill for all that it has done and continues to do. I wish to turn now to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, which is now made up of a Department of Foreign Affairs and a Department of Immigration. The law which created the Department of Foreign Affairs came into force on the 23rd of December 2014, and later, on the 30th of December 2014, the Foreign Service orders came into force. The Foreign Service orders require additional payments to be made to Foreign Service officers for allowances, which are now set at a new level, and the Department awaits the disbursement of those payments within the coming months. 6 additional Foreign Service officers will join the Department soon, having been approved in accordance with our budget during the last half of the year. We have now approved and filled the positions for Bahamian honorary consuls in Chicago, in Los Angeles, and in Houston. I wish to congratulate Michael Fountain, who serves in Chicago, Cedric Scott, who serves in Los Angeles, and Lyndon Rose, who serves in Houston, for agreeing to take on these responsibilities on a volunteer basis. Ultimately, I think within 10 years or so, there should be professional consuls general in those cities. It is still contemplated, Mr. Speaker, that there should be offices opened in Jamaica, Brazil, and in the Middle East. However, yesterday the ministry issued a statement in which it denied that any such office has been opened in Abu Dhabi, contrary to an assertion made in an editorial in the Tribune of the 12th of February. And they even went so far as to give an address for this embassy. So I had a long chat with the permanent secretary to try and figure out whether something had been done without my knowing. But I assure you there is no embassy in Abu Dhabi, as that editorial asserts. I would say, however, that the editorial, as usual, trotted out the reactionary arguments that myopia is to be embraced and preferred over foresight. However, it remains the government's view that our country has to engage in new markets and expand our horizons and plan for the future. These are all subject to budgetary constraints and a cost-benefit analysis. On the 28th of January 2015, new visa rules came into force and the costs of visas increased. We are seeking similar increases in passport fees to more accurately reflect the cost of producing these goods for the public. The annual revenue for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is about $13 million when compared to an expenditure of $26 million. The consular fees for certification of documents are now underpriced, so there is some potential recovery in costs in the upward adjustment of these fees. Discussions with the Exchequer continue on these matters. As at the 31st of December, the revenue for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was $12.5 million, or $12,447,839.21. The budgeted amount was $12,288,851.57. The difference was a positive $158,987.64. And please note the payment, most of that included the payment for the lease at Ortec in Andros, which is paid in October at $11,271,000 per year. Expenditure was as follows: personal emoluments and allowances at $5,251,488. The total budgeted for the year was $11,558,920. At the 6-month period, we had spent 45.3% of our allocation. Other charges, which include fixed charges, grants, and special financial transactions, amounted to $7,031,034. The total budgeted for was $14,626,074. We have spent 48.1% of the budgeted allocation. Overall budgeted was $26,214,994, and to the 31st of December, $12,282.522 was expended, and of that, 46.9% of the overall amount was budgeted, of the budgeted amount was spent. I wish, Mr. Speaker, to thank the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Philip Miller, for being at the wheel at this challenging time. Mr. Miller will be leaving the ministry shortly on pre-retirement leave. I speak for all when I say that the groundbreaking work that has been accomplished in these past 2.5 years could not have been done without him, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. He and I have been on a long journey together since we both graduated from university a very long time ago. It has been an interesting one, from beginning with walking through the fields of North Eleuthera with George Dorset when he was an agricultural officer, and I was a radio producer with the Bahamas Information Services, to where we are both now. It goes without saying that I wish him well. With regard to the Department of Immigration, there's been significant success in the department in carrying out its principal role. I wish to thank the Bahamian public for the support which it has given the department over the past 2 years in carrying out its work. I wish to repeat that we intend to help the people of Abaco in their struggle with the issue of illegal migration. On Friday, the 20th of February, there will be a multi-agency staging meeting in Marsh Harbor hosted at the Office of the Prime Minister to map out what is to be done to execute the more intensive immigration checks that are coming in Abaco within the next 42 days. This will include all government agencies and heads of civil society and opinion makers. The operation plan for Abaco will take significant resources and planning if it is to be successful in dealing with this vexing problem. It will require community support, and it appears from our meetings at the start of the year on the 2nd and 3rd of January in Cooperstown, Marsh Harbor, Hopetown, and in Sandy Point that there is significant community support for this immigration effort. I wish to give the following information. The following represents statistical data on repatriation and apprehension for the period January 2014 to December 2014. Apprehension, interdiction by boat, 1,794. On land, apprehension, mainly Haitian nationals, 3,251. Other nationals, 796, for a total last year of 5,841 souls. Repatriated to Haiti, 3,814. Other nationals, 814, for a total 4,628.
The member yields. The chair recognizes member for Kalani. You had a...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's not a point of order, but I just have a curious matter. You said that there were about 3,000 apprehended on land. I only want to know whether that was land or void apprehension, or that those were individuals who were just disembarking of their boat, the vessel, and subsequently captured them. There's two distinct differences.
Yes.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Foxhill.
I'll just read again. Apprehensions by boat, that is people who were interdicted at the sea, 1,794. On land, 3,251. So I'm assuming the boat interdictions are, the sea interdictions are the 2,000 or so, 1,794, and the 325 are on the land. Yeah, could be. But I'd have to disaggregate. Since you've asked the question, I'd have to disaggregate it further. Apprehensions on land, by boat, and on land are the two categories. Apprehensions from the 1st of November to the 31st of December 2014, 895. And maybe that's the answer to it, because an apprehension may draw this distinction between that you're talking about on land as opposed to sea. An apprehension means that they were interdicted in operations which took place entirely land-based. So those apprehensions were 895. Other Haitians, other nationals, 136, for a total of 1,031. Repatriations, the 1st of November to the 31st of December, were 357 Haitians, and other nationals, 172, for a total of 529. Yes, from November to December. So the revenue for the year, for the revenue up to the 31st of December is $26,433,559. The expenditure is $8,564,138. That's the total to December 2014. And the one expenditure item which has been exhausted, we had an allocation of $1.5 million for the fiscal year. To the calendar year, we spent 1.6 million, and I'm advised that the budget item for repatriation has in fact been exhausted to this point. We are, of course, 1.5 million. Yes, for fiscal. But the calendar year, I was trying to get the disaggregated figure for the 31st. That wasn't available at this time. If it is before the debate is finished, I'll give it. But the total for the year was 1.7 million. No, it was sorry, it was, for the total year is 1.5 million, right, was it for the total year. Okay, so anyway, the item is exhausted. That's the issue right now. I want to say that the operations on immigration continue on a daily basis, and in the end, it is only eternal vigilance that will protect us from being swamped. And I really call again for these activists who have been making this a highly personal campaign aimed at seeking to sully my reputation and making outrageous claims against the Department of Immigration. I pledge to have investigated any credible claim of abuse by any officer. No one has a blank check for any sort of abuse. However, the accusations of institutional terrorism, ethnic cleansing, and Auschwitz in the Bahamas are unfounded, and they should be withdrawn by these activists. The latest attack was one last week when one of the individuals from the Human Rights Association in Grand Bahama claimed that I am targeting children. Targeting children. That is simply disgraceful on his part. He knows full well that the laws of the Bahamas call for all non-nationals in this country to have a permit to reside here or a work permit. There is no exception for men, women, or children. No pricing has changed, no law has changed, no policy has been changed. We are simply seeking the best way we can to enforce the law. For that, he makes this spurious allegation of targeting children, which I say, Mr. Speaker, is a crime against humanity. These people are loose with their tongues, their brains, and their language, and they do so, it appears, without anyone in civil society calling them out on it. The question is this that must be put to them. Whose side are you on? The side of Bahamians and our national patrimony, or are you siding with enemies of the country who would undermine the country's security and well-being? It is clear, Mr. Speaker, from intelligence gathered, where people are said to pay anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 per head to make these journeys into our country illegally, that this has the makings of a sophisticated criminal enterprise. These activists like to portray this as some poor migrants who are simply trying to make a better life. But increasingly, this is a portrait of a sophisticated smuggling operation which is big business and, in the process, is threatening to swamp our country. The question then to put to these activists, given their hysteria, including the well-known QC, who has said to people that they should sue the Bahamas government en masse to bankrupt the government, the question is, are you unwittingly working with these criminal enterprises to swamp the country? People can accept reasonable and reasoned criticism, but when criticism goes completely overboard, without a basis in logic, then minds begin to wonder whether there are other bases for their criticism. I leave the matter there for the time being. The law is not confused on this issue. It is clear, and people should obey the law and encourage all to obey the law. I saw a comment this morning, Mr. Speaker, from representatives of the business community, in which, for the second time in as many weeks, statements were made from that quarter which suggest that the actions of the Department of Immigration are responsible for retarding the ability of businesses in this country to get the talent they need to do the jobs at their businesses. I wish, sir, that someone would give me an example of that. The rate of refusals of work permits is so small that I venture to guess that there is hardly an example, not one, to be found where any business has been unable to get their talent that they need to run the businesses in this country. And if that is the case, then they need to let me know where that happens and where that occurs. So I want to set the record straight on that. I want to thank the immigration officers for their leadership, for their hard work on the job in the face of the harsh criticisms. The director, Mr. William Pratt, the head of the enforcement unit, Mr. Kirk Neely, and all the officers for their hard work, particularly in the face of the unwarranted and unfair criticism. I'd like to thank, in addition, my political colleagues in this place who have, in the face of what must be a difficult environment, supported the policies and the endeavors in this matter. And in particular, my colleagues who serve in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with me, the Parliamentary Secretary, the Member of Parliament for South Beach, and our Ambassador to CARICOM, the Member for South Andros, for their support. I also want to say that within the next 6 months, we hope we will have ordered a new border management control equipment, which should, amongst other things, help to alleviate the long lines at the Lyndon Pindling International Airport, which is another sore point for many people when they enter the country and for which there are complaints. I said to the vendors who were talking about this one day in the office, they told me that the Jamaican Minister for Immigration has now become the most popular minister in Jamaica simply because of the advent of electronic entry gates at the airport. So there's hope for me yet. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I support the resolution.